Excuse me. So I want to make sure I get all the information packed into this so you guys don't miss out on anything. Again, welcome, welcome. Thank you again. I'm going to get into today. We're going to be talking about building AI assistants for your business, which just is a easier way of saying a custom GPT. If you've already started using AI, let me know in the chat. And then also what we're going to be talking about really is how can we integrate these into your business? Because I know there's a million and one AI tools out there that you can use, but now we're going to start actually talking about how do we personalize some of these for your personal workflows. So we're going to get in. So today we're talking about creating AI assistants that simplify your business. And I use that word specifically because as founders, you need everything as simple as possible so you can focus on the vision and more importantly, just being you. I do not believe your business should be necessarily who you are. I think it should be an extension of what you do and how you serve. So I approach AI is not from an approach of how do we do more? It's how can we get more done for us as founders. So for those who do not know me, again, my name is Christina Sims. I am the founder and CEO of Precision Edge AI. We are a boutique AI agency and consultancy certified based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm based in the United States. I help founders simplify and scale their businesses through bespoke AI solutions. So I like to say that my business strategies are more like memory foam. It fits around and molds around your business. I'm CPD certified and I'm also a developer. So a lot of the tools that you see I speak about, I actually also build as well. I have over 15 years experience. I've served over 150 founders. I've generated over 100 million in revenue for my clients, saving them also $1 million in annual expenditures through AI technologies. I've been featured in major and global publications such as Medium, Thrive Global, Canvas Rebel, to name a few. I've also won some awards, CREA Global. I'm a Stevie Award winner, and I've also been recognized by Medium Magazine as one of the women leading in AI. But this isn't about me. This is about you. I'm most passionate about helping you embrace AI confidently, but also sustainably to build impactful businesses where you don't have to choose between a personal life and your professional life. I know some of you, especially some of you are solopreneurs, you're all the hats in your business. And that's okay. We all have to start somewhere. But with AI now, we can have the ability to no longer have to choose. Many of us left, if you're like me, I'm a corporate burnout. And I say it that way because it burnt me out, which is why I'm here today in front of you all. We're looking for ways to be able to have these businesses serve the beautiful lives that we want to have versus us feeling we are a slave to them. So let's talk about the AI assistant today. So today's goal of this training is to give you the inspiration, to give you different ways that you can use AI assistants in your business. And I'm even going to demo a way for you to create your own. So this is about how we're going to make more money. So I'm a more of an interactive girl. I like to know have people in the room with me, especially since we're on Zoom. I need you all to type in the chat for me, money. Because you're going to be looking at this as how do we use it to help us make more money? And also I need you to put in the chat for me. Oh, y'all quick on that money. I appreciate it. We all awake this morning. I got my coffee, so I'm still catching up. Also put in their time because your time is money. All right. I love this group, Gabriel. They are on it. So let's talk about real quick the phases of adoption. There are 5. First, we start with prompting. Some of you may have bought a bunch of prompt decks and things such as that, and we'll talk about that later. But prompting is where you're simply telling these tools a response and it gives you it back. This is generative AI where it's text-based. That's the beginning and usually entry point to AI. Then there's automations, and this is where you're starting to get it to handle more of your repetitive tasks. Schedule social media posts. Some of you guys are already using tools that automate that. If you're using like Instagram, you can schedule them. That's a form of automation. Then there's assistance where we're going to be talking about today, where it's actually going to assist in completion of specific tasks. Think of a VA, and I know I saw my VA queen in here. No, this is not going to replace you, but it's definitely going to help you be able to expand your services times 10. Answer customer service questions, help draft emails, things such as that. Then we get to the next tier, which is your actual workflow from start to finish, actually combining AI tools to work together. So they're going to handle different areas like the lead nurture. For example, if someone opts into your funnel, what happens after that? How do you move them to the sale? That's also, some of you guys might be hearing about the word agents. That will also go within some of that as well. And it bleeds a little bit into infrastructure, which is where your entire business is AI powered and AI led. That is where we're going. That's also custom AI software you see. That's an example of AI infrastructure. So let's get into it. When we're thinking about creating our AI assistants, it first starts with your mindset and taking a look at where you are. Because I always preach this when it comes to AI, people are like, okay, let me jump into this tool. And I always say, but what is your process? If you do not have a process, because this is all systems, everything in your business should be running on a system. If you do not have a system, AI can really just blow up already a bad existing problem. We don't want that. We want to really kind of think about our SOPs or standing operating procedures. How do we move? What happens next? So this is also, then we're going to do an audit of your time, audit of your expenses. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, what's one task in your business that you wish could run on autopilot? That's usually the first thing. The next one is, what task do you think there has got to be an easier way to do this? So each of you, you don't have to do it right now, but just start thinking in your head, what are some of those most time consuming and even soul draining tasks that are on your plate? Also think about how often are you stuck answering the same question over and over and over again from clients? And that's usually one of the first different ways to kind of think about where can we go with that. And then say, if you could talk to every website visitor personally, what would you say to them to get them excited about your business? So these are some of the starting points that you want to think about when it comes to figuring out not only what AI assistant you want to build, but also where can AI make the most impact in your business. And another one you could even think about is, what is costing my business the most money to do, to implement, or to fulfill? So let's get into what exactly are custom GPTs. Custom GPTs are generative pre-trained transformers, say that 5 times, and they're AI-powered assistants specifically designed to follow your instructions. They're going to be combining knowledge, and that's going to suit your business needs. They can handle very specific tasks. They can handle very advanced tasks, really just helping you be able to streamline both your internal and your external operations. So again, some examples of what they can do. They can automate tasks such as drafting emails, processing ideas, managing repetitive work. They can also handle some of the external tasks like how to answer your customer inquiries, providing personalized product recommendations, engaging with your audience with value-driven content. So now we're going to go into where can you build GPTs. If you're ready to create your own custom AI assistant, there's a few platforms that you can use. These are not the only ones. These are just some of the most popular ones that you can use. So for those, first one to start was ChatGPT. That's the most popular one. There's a feature in the back end called Custom GPTs where you can actually build your GPT. It's a relatively easy interface. You can integrate tools, you can integrate codes, knowledge. You can support file uploads in there and APIs are just this little piece of code that lets other softwares talk to each other. So you could connect, for example, Instagram to one of these to be able to get some data in real time. Pickaxe is also a no-code builder, and no-code just means that you're not in there having to do any software engineering or anything like that. You can also use shareable links, and also you can monetize. You can monetize your GPTs on any of these platforms, or just different ways on how you would do that. And then the last one is Poe. Poe is different than the other two in that it also allows you to use several large language models. Large language models is just exactly what ChatGPT, Pickaxe, anything you input text in to get a response back is a large language model. Claude, Gemini, those are large language models. It's different in that there's a platform that's called OpenAI. That is what ChatGPT is based upon. It pulls from those data knowledges from each of those. So you might notice, for example, if anyone ever worked with Claude, the responses sound a little bit more human-like than, say, ChatGPT. So you could pick which one of those. Claude is operating on a platform called Anthropic. You could choose which one of those you want to use to give your responses. So now we're going to get into use cases. What are some examples of AI assistants that you could create? You can use it for project planning. It can help you map out your launches, task management. It could help you with a tech automation assistant. So for those of you who are, I want to try to figure out how do I set up my email campaign on the back end, depending on what platform you use, whether it's MailChimp, ConvertKit, things like that. It can actually operate as your tutor to help you learn how to set that up. It can help you create your lead magnets, customer support. It can serve as an onboarding assistant. So if you have new hires coming in, you can create a bot that they can interact with that will help train them on their specific role in your company processes. A brand voice assistant, press release generator, proposal writer, course assistant. It can help you build courses. So these are just some of the examples of the many thousands of ideas you can create into a custom AI assistant. And these can help you save approximately 2 to 6 hours per task per week. So when you think about that in the grand scheme of things, this really can save you hundreds of hours in your labor costs alone. So now when you're going to create your custom AI assistant, we use in my company called the STAR framework. And the first is you're going to set your goal. You're going to define what is going to be that specific task or role that your custom GPT is going to handle. Then step 2, tailor instructions. Provide clear guidelines on how that GPT should function, including tone, style, and things such as that, any limitations. Then you're going to add your training data. This is also called a knowledge file. And this is where you're going to feed the GPT relevant information, FAQs, company information, certain policies, examples. Oh, thank you. I did not realize my screen was not sharing. I apologize. Give me 1 second. Let me get that in there. Can you guys see it now? Give me
Yes.
a thumbs up. Perfect. Thank you. I apologize with that. No worries. We're getting to the demo part, so I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Okay. So the third part was saying was adding the training data in the knowledge. And so your custom GPTs, your AI assistants, this is the backbone. So if you take nothing else away from when you're building your custom AI assistant, they're only as good as the knowledge that you train it on. Some people will build custom AI tools. If you've ever operated with a GPT, some of them may be great and some are like, this is falling a little flat. Probably don't have a lot of information and good data in there. So when you're personalizing them to you, this is the area now we'll be showing you where this goes. So for example, if you have email examples, if you have transcripts of maybe even how you speak, this is where you want to put it. So that's what's really going to make it really, really great. Then review and refine, because these are still tools, it's technology. So you're going to want to test them, you want to get feedback, and then you're going to make adjustments to get it better. Now, they do learn over time from the users from there, and they do get better. But it's very important that you're consistently testing them, but also updating as more information is updated within your company or best practices. Also, Gabriel, I can give you a copy of these slides as well to share with the members as well. I saw a
Awesome.
question.
Thank you.
Yes, so absolutely. So let's break this down a little more. First, we're going to define what that core purpose is. Is it going to be your copywriter? Is it going to be your marketing strategist, a launch strategist, developer for you? We want to think about that. And this is a really important part is because some people get greedy when it comes to AI assistants. Like, I want it to do 2 things, but it works just like a human when you're thinking about this. And when you become a juggler of all, you become a master of none. You want your GPTs to be more like a laser versus a flashlight. So really make sure it's good at one thing and it's going to continue to refine. So key questions you want to answer is, who's going to be using this GPT? Is it an internal tool? Is it something you're going to go out and share with other users? Because you had to factor in that customer experience with it and user experience. What problem is it solving? What should it know how to do really, really well? Because again, this thing is going to be your expert at a particular role. A lot of people name their custom GPTs. They're like, this is my assistant, Vivian. So you even think about it, like you're building your own employee. And then example, is it going to help users understand your product features? Again, is it going to help with the onboarding process? Is it going to summarize internal reports but using your brand tone? You really want to make sure that you have a clear goal. So that's what's going to guide the configuration process along this process and ensuring that's going to align with your user needs. So what does this mean? Next part is tailoring your instructions. This is the part where you're going to actually instruct the GPT. How are you going to, what are you going to actually perform? And also how are you going to interact? So I think a lot of times people forget about, they wanted to do a tool, but there's also user experience behind this. Thank you. Someone said they named theirs Charles. So when you're thinking about that, you're also thinking about for if this is a tool I know I'm going to have someone use externally, I want it to be an extension of my brand. I'm not going to give them something that's going to sound robotic because then it's going to create this brand dissonance and they're not going to feel like they're really engaging with your company. So that's also what you want to think about. If this is a tool you're going to give your clients, your customers to use, how do you also make sure that it's doing that task, but also feels like it's a part of you? So for example, I built a GPT for a client and she has a content repurposing company. She wanted to actually use her GPT as a lead magnet. You can do that with these actually, by the way. And so this was something she was going to give out externally to get people to give a little flavor of what she does and to move them to the next step to purchase with her. So what we did was we programmed her GPT to sound exactly like her. It said key phrases she would say and nuances. So now when she gives us these customers and then they meet her, they feel like they've already had interaction with her because it felt the same. So think about those in terms of it's internal. If you're giving this to your employees, your staff members, you want still want to sound like, what is your organization company culture? Is it interfacing with them? So again, they feel like this is still a part of the company. So you're going to give it key components such as a role. You're a professional travel advisor, communication style, be concise, be friendly, be clear. How do you want it to speak to them? And then some do's and don'ts. You always want to make sure you give it limitations. Otherwise, ChatGPT, if you're especially using it, building one in there, will take liberty. So you always want to make sure it has its limitations of this is my window I can operate in. Don't use industry jargon. Never make legal or medical recommendations, things such as that. So best practices with this would just be specific. Think about this like as if you're briefing a new hire. And I like to say, because I have a young son, think about it like as if you're even teaching a toddler. This is all new to it to the first time. You're building this profile. So for example, you might want your GPT to always greet the user by their first name so they feel really engaged at the front of that. Use a positive, supportive tone. Then adding training data. So you want to update data that's going to let the GPT perform very, very well. Types of data include maybe some internal documentation, company information, company bio, style guides and tone examples, any past interactions you had. So for example, if you want to turn this into a sales trainer for your team, you would upload like scripts, best practices, so it knows again how to operate and what are typically historical scripts that would close for your clients, any policies, regulations, anything it would need to know to be the best tool for you. Same thing, same practice. Clean, concise, well-organized data. And I'm going to show you some of this stuff in the background in a minute. Clear file names. It's very important how you label it. Think about like Google. These tools are crawling this information. So if it's all kind of jumbled in there, depending on what you're putting in there, it will get confused very easily. So it's very good to have titles, subtitles, and just your information neatly placed on your documents so it can easily be able to recall what it needs to. And just avoiding anything redundant or outdated. Outdated goes without saying because you want to make sure it's up to date, and avoiding redundancy just so then it doesn't get confused. And it's very important not to overtrain. And that just means you only need to put in here what it absolutely needs. Because it's still AI, it still can pull, depending on what setting you're using, information from other sources to be able to still do the best data there for you. And then lastly, review and refine. So you want to test it with a variety of prompts. You want to check for its tone. You want to check for its accuracy of all things, relevance, and then use different edge cases and ambiguous requests. Throw it off a bit just to see how would it react. And then you're going to fine tune in the background your instructions. Maybe you need to update it for tone and clarity. Maybe you need to add more knowledge to the file in case, and just continue to refine. So now we're going to get into the live demo. So I'm going to show you, we're going to use the live demo of creating an AI assistant that would be for a brand voice. Can everybody still see my screen? Okay, perfect. So first we're going to do is actually just go in ChatGPT. We're going to use ChatGPT for this example. Again, when you're wanting to build a GPT in any of these platforms, you need to have a paid subscription. So for ChatGPT, you would need at least a Plus account. And that's what I have. Anybody who uses your GPTs, they don't have to have an account, at least within ChatGPT. They don't have to have an account to use it, but you do to build it. So you're going to go up here into this top corner and click here, and it'll be My GPTs. And you will see I have created quite a bit. So what you're going to do is click here, which create a GPT. And this would be the back end of what a GPT would look like for if you're using, again, the ChatGPT platform. And so there's two options you can pick from, create or configure. Create is a beginner's version where really you can just interact with ChatGPT itself and it'll help you build it automatically. I avoid this just because it doesn't fine tune the way I want to. There's not really a way to make it really specific and really exact. It's just great if you just want to practice trying to like start making a GPT and understand how it works. Sure, let me try and make it bigger. Let me know when you can view it well. Give me a thumbs up when.
Just in case, you guys can also zoom the screen that is shared if you hold control and your mouse wheel on it.
I just want to make sure. Can everybody see the screen? Okay, thumbs up. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Linda. Okay, so this is the beginner's version way. If you just want to practice just seeing what one looks like. This is not the way we're going to show you because we want to make one that's very exact to what your business needs are. We're going to use here the configure tab. So there's this icon right here where you can upload a photo. If you wanted to show it to have a little icon that's recognizable, you could upload your photo, or you can create one using Dolly. You want to do this last because this is, if you use Dolly, and that's just the image creator within ChatGPT, it will create the image based upon what your GPT is. So if you want it to create one for you, you'll do this step last. But I still want to let you see this is where it is, or you could just upload your own. You'll name your GPT. So for in this example, we might call it the Precision Edge AI Assistant. Then add a short description. You want to make sure you explain what does your GPT do. And so this, in this case, we would say, this GPT writes in the brand tone and voice of Christina Sims or Precision Edge AI. Then this is where we'll put our instructions when we're ready. It's going to explain, what does this GPT do? How does it behave? What action should it be taking? Then we have conversation starters. So conversation starters, if you ever use a GPT, some of them have little buttons over here and almost like a FAQ section where you're going to choose your own adventure. This is just ways to engage with the GPT to help your user who's ever using this have starting points. It might be, help me draft an email, help me write this social media post. And then what will happen is the GPT will respond based upon that specific conversation starter. This is the area I'm talking about, the knowledge files. This is where you're going to upload all the secret sauce to make sure your GPTs are super powerful. Company information, transcripts, and things such as that, which we're about to do here in a minute. You can upload in here PDFs. You cannot upload images. You cannot upload audio or video. It does not work that way. You can upload Google Docs. They need to be saved a specific way. And you can upload Google Sheets. If you upload a Google Sheet, though, you will need to make sure you click on one of these settings, which I'll explain here in a second. You can only upload to 10 files here. And it's important when you're thinking about that, when you're cataloging your files, if anything is similar, place them on the same file because you are limited up to a certain point how much data can go in these as well. It's a lot, so you have a lot of bandwidth with it, but it's just very important that when you're cataloging them, since you only get 10 files you can upload, if anything has symmetry, keep it under one specific file because then you can label them within your document. And then we get into the capabilities. So web search means your GPT can search the web. I usually always keep that on just because sometimes I might need it to search the web. Canvas is a relatively new feature coming out with ChatGPT. What that does is once you're asking it to say draft an email, it'll create almost like a pop-up on the screen where it'll isolate just that information to keep making edits to that document. That's something that they actually borrowed from Claude lately. You don't really always need it. It just depends. If you have something that's more of a writer, I would suggest it. But if it's not, I would click it off because what happens sometimes it activates at the least opportune time. So I would keep that probably off if you're not using it as a writer. Dolly image generation is if you want your GPT to create images for you. And in code interpreter, this is where your GPT can analyze data and it can also do calculations for you. So anything that deals with data analysis, reporting, that's when you want this to be turned on. If you're uploading anything that has data as well, so if you have a spreadsheet, maybe of historical sales data, you'll want to click this because that's the only way then your GPT will be able to access that information. And then create new action. This is just a more advanced button. If you click this, it's just going to show you these other features where then you can actually do some coding in here, or you can start connecting it with other platforms. So let's get into it. So what we're going to do is a brand voice GPT. And when you're doing a brand voice GPT, it needs to be able to first start with information. So the first thing you're going to do is pull transcripts. So it needs to hear you speak. What are the intonations? How do you typically speak and things like that? So it needs a data sample. And this was an example for a client I did. This is the only part you don't need to label. So what I did was, this particular client, she had a YouTube channel. So I was able to pull all her transcripts from YouTube and paste them all here. If you don't have anything like that, I always say record yourself talking for like 30 minutes to an hour. So it really gets a good sample of how you speak. Make sure you're talking about things you're really passionate about and what your expertise is in. So once we transcribe all of her different content, we uploaded it into ChatGPT. I already pre-put this in here in case Chatty wasn't going to be friendly with me today. So we uploaded her transcript here. And then I use this prompt, and I'm going to paste this prompt in here into the chat. There we go. So we asked ChatGPT to Act as an expert communication analyst. I want you to analyze the following transcript of a speaker and extract key elements of their speaking style. Then I want you to create a speaking guidelines document that outlines how someone else can replicate this style. What we're doing is creating one of our knowledge file documents. So the document should include their tone and voice, describe the speaker's tone, conversational, authoritative, empathetic. What is their pacing and rhythm? Note the speed, the pauses, the flow of the speech. Language and vocabulary. What type of features do they typically use? Are they more technical? They use metaphors. Structure and transitions, engagement techniques, and then do's and don'ts. So when we entered this prompt, it analyzed this document, which was just this transcript right here that I saved as a PDF file, by the way. When you're uploading documents, you want them as PDFs for this. And it created for me here an entire speaking guide for this client. Engagement techniques, do's and don'ts. Now, you can, if you want, I always ask ChatGPT to go deeper. So I could say go deeper and it would expand upon all of this to really get even deeper. If you want to say, what are some key phrases they use, key themes, you can continue going down a rabbit hole with this. Once you have this, this is then when I created the, where's her document? Here you are. So this is the speaking guidelines I used for her. And so I created this in a Google Doc, saved it as a PDF file, and then I would have uploaded it then going back into my GPT. It's actually created one here for her. So this is information that would go right here in her knowledge file. So I created a speaking guidelines right here for her. That's step one. So we know we have the speaking guidelines. The next part we want to do is actually create our instructions from this. And so there's other actual things we want to add. We want to add her bio. So I went online, I found her bio. She had some testimonials. Again, we're now building the knowledge file document. Another document we added in was her company information, her target audience. It's very important if you're building, say, a brand voice GPT, it understands who are you speaking to, because all your messaging is going to be targeting towards that. So I put her entire avatar here on one document. What is some of the messaging that happens for there? So things such as, what are the objections they'd have to overcome? What are some of the key messaging to speak to them? That's going here also back here in her knowledge file, so the GPT understands that. Then I pulled what are some sample emails. So she has very, very long emails. Copy and pasted those in there. You don't have to copy and paste all to one document if you don't want to. You could have just saved an email and uploaded it as a specific file. I do it this way just because I want the GPT to have a variety of different email styles, because maybe one email is just for an awareness. Maybe one is more for in-depth because you're trying to nurture them. Maybe people that are already previous customers. So I always put them on one document just so I have a long list of those. Then also what we're going to do, so we got the bio, we got the company information, target information, transcript, got it. Okay. So now what we want to do is create custom instructions based upon the knowledge file document. So what we're doing is we need to create this text you see here. We need specifically, when you're doing your custom GPT, you need to make sure that your GPT is being programmed based upon the knowledge you're giving it. That's what's going to make it really, really good. So to get all of this specific advanced instructions you see here, we're also going to go to ChatGPT. So ChatGPT can actually help you build your custom GPTs. You can ask it to build it for you. And what we're going to do, I'm also going to give this second prompt here. There we go. So what we're going to do here, this is a new window. We're going to put these files. So these were the knowledge files that I created, the transcript, the speaking guidelines from the transcript, sample emails. We could have also put sample social media posts if we wanted, or sample podcast episodes. For brevity, I just used these ones. The company information, her bio. And we're going to ask ChatGPT to act as an expert custom GPT builder who specializes in developing advanced GPTs inside the ChatGPT platform. I did this prompt because I'm letting it know I'm building this in ChatGPT, because how you build this would be different than, say, Pickaxe, Poe, or any other platform. So you need to be very specific in your prompts. What's the goal and where are you building it? Then I said your task is to write a custom GPT instructions that are written entirely in Markdown syntax This is called Markdown, where you're seeing all these dashes. This is the best way that ChatGPT understands information. Stay under 8,000 characters in length. When you're writing those instructions, the important part is to make sure that it's under 8,000 characters. You only have 8,000 characters, otherwise it won't save. No emojis, and are based only on the documents I have uploaded, and they're designed to match and replicate my exact brand voice. So the goal here then is for Custom GPT should write and speak exactly like me, using the tone, personality, phrasing found in the knowledge files uploaded. It should understand my target audience, reflect my tone, handle tasks like emails, training scripts, captions, and marketing copy in my unique voice. So from here, it now gave the instructions. It doesn't always listen. As you see, I got emojis, but when you copy and paste it over, you don't have to have that. But this is the important part, is it's giving the instructions for the ChatGPT now to write specifically like Cassandra. Now, if you ever looked her up on YouTube, she has a very, very unique way of speaking, heavy slang. She's very down to earth, but also has a Southern twang to it. So this is explaining exactly how to do it. These are the functional use cases in which this GPT will write. This is the style. She always speaks in first person, always either an I or a we. She always emphasizes community. It's saying how to be able to speak in her specific tone using black vernacular, motivational reminder. She's always motivating people at the end of her things. And it's giving do's, and it's giving specific phrases in which how she speaks, and it's giving don't. She's not corporate. She's not academic in style. She's not robotic at all. And she's always assuming that they don't have a deep technical knowledge. She's always ensuring that she breaks everything down very much. And then it's giving style. So this is pulling from her transcript, so it understands exactly how the linguistics in which she speaks. So once you copy and paste this, and you can just copy just like this, you are going to put this into your GPT right here and paste. Once you do that, you're going to go to your conversation starter. So think about your GPT again as an FAQ center. What are the key different tasks someone would be able to use your GPT for? And that is what you will use for your conversation starters. You can use all 4 of them. You can use one of them. You can use none of them. It's up to you. But this is what it would look like then for your user for that. So when you're testing your GPTs before you deploy them, you can test them over here in the side. So for this one, her primary use cases for this was going to be for emails, rewriting some things in her brand voice, or helping write SMS text. And let me see, I have a question here real quick.
We have a couple, yes.
Okay, so the one I saw was Eli's. When it comes to, this is for helping to write content, not to chat on her website. That is a chatbot. That's a different type of tool. Custom GPTs are just a different type of AI assistant where you're getting it to do different tasks. If she wanted it on her website, she would need to use what's called a chatbot, which would then be programmed with questions about her brand that would interface on her website. So this is a tool that you can use within ChatGPT specifically. Great question. So lastly, when figuring, she just needed image generation because she is a creative person. She wants the users to be able to create that. What's there? So it might be Cassandra's click and help me write any. Right. So this is something her team uses internally. And then sometimes she hires outside vendors and copywriters, and she wants them to use this tool to make sure her stuff is always in her brand voice. This is an internal tool for her. And then, where was I? Okay. So now let's get into, we already then entered our conversation starters. We have our instructions. We wrote in what this does. I write in the brand voice of Cassandra. In this case, what she used for her image, she used just her own face for that one. And then we have here what our primary use cases for this GPT are that would help her team or her to be able to write this. And then she picked her capability. She just wanted web search. She just wanted Dolly. She's not using this for any analytical tools, no calculating. We're not going to click this. She wants Dolly imagery because sometimes she likes to think about what type of image or type of caption would be best for the social media post. We kept that. She didn't want Canvas because for her it was more confusing. She just wanted to keep within her chat a ChatGPT, so we did not activate this feature. Now you're deciding to share. So when you click share, and always click update after you do everything, you have 3 options. You can do it where it's only me, which means you're the only one who can access this. You can share this. In this case, she's sharing with her team, so this is the option she used. Or you can click the GPT store. If you do GPT store, it means it's public to the world. Anybody on the ChatGPT platform who's looking up all those other new GPTs that are popping up can use your tool. Some people do that because they want feedback on their tool. I typically never do that because I just don't really want my GPTs to the public unless I'm personally selling them. So I typically avoid this. But if you want to do it out there because you just want to get more people recognizing your brand, some people do that, you can. But know when it's out there, it's there for the world. Same thing with anyone with the link. Once you give this link to somebody, they can share it with somebody else. That's the important part to know. That's why sometimes if you're going to use this to sell to people, there are ways you can kind of protect it where you might have to activate it for like a password, but by and large, if you want it where no one else can use it, once you share a link, you would need to explore a different platform. We just use ChatGPT because that's the universal one people use for GPTs. But just know that if you use anything with a link, once you give it to someone, it's kind of like a Netflix password, they can pass that on. So know that. And then from a user standpoint, so once this is done and saves, this is what it would look like to your user. This is what it would look like from a natural GPT. And then so help me write, and then it would ask for different information for her. So you can program these GPTs to be able to do whatever you want it to do. And so it says, absolutely, fam. This is exactly how she speaks. So she wanted her team, anything that even deals with her, from her team to her audience, she always wants it to feel like her. So as you saw, the GPT ensure that it even speaks like her. So this is how you would build a GPT if you want to do a brand voice GPT. Now I'm going to open up the floor for some questions here first before I do the closing. Let me see, we had some here in the chat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me help you with that. I collect all the questions. So
Thank you.
first, Tashara said, how can we make this customer facing to monetize our trained ChatGPT?
Right. So there are ways in which when you want to monetize it, you're building this the same process I showed you. But what you're going to do, you need to put a paywall in front of it. So if you wanted it there's two ways. If you want to do as in lead gen. So for example, I have a client I mentioned who I created one for her that's a lead magnet for her. And I think I still have hers in here. For her, she created a funnel. So you need a sales funnel. Either they're opting in or they're paying, whichever one you're doing. So she created her landing page. It says, hey, you can use my free, I think she named her Hannah or something like that. Use my assistant Hannah, and she's going to give you 3 ideas on how to repurpose your content. Once they give the email lead capture, then she emails them the link that you saw to that GPT. So that's one way. And the same way would work when instead of just giving access, you would then need to do a checkout. So it'd be they'd opt in, click in, I want the product, put your checkout page, and then you would email them the link then to your GPT. Now with Pickaxe, if you use that platform, there's a checkout already built in with that. So let me find hers. Here you go. Here's her content remixer. So hers is simple. So this is an example of a GPT that's used for lead gen. So she's trying to get leads to be able to book her full tilt service in which she'll do over 100 ideas. This is just going to give them 3. So we just have one button here because the user we know most likely won't know how to interact with AI. So when I'm talking about the user experience, you got to think about, is this someone that's a beginner, most likely has never interacted with AI, or is this someone more advanced? So when we click here to get started, now it's asking for, I'm sorry, this one's the one she did internal. This is her internal tool. One second. Let me find her one she did. That's her internal one. She uses that to actually do her job for her. So yeah, you can, if you have a service that you do and you want to fulfill faster, you can create one that will do the work for you. So now her service, she takes what used to take her 5 hours, she gets it done in an hour. This is the one that's client facing. There we go. So now you see it speaks just like her. It's interacting with her and saying you want to remix your content, drop your text from a social media post, caption, email, blog, or podcast script. So I'm just going to pull here real quick from, let's see, email. I'm just going to use this email. So based upon her, she always gives an angle, she gives an intention, she gives a content type, and she gives a hook, and then she tells you a quick way to do it. So this gives you 3 different ways that I could remix that email. I could turn it into a reel, I could turn it into a carousel, or I can turn it into a landing page. And then she has here 100 customized remix ideas like these. And you see here, it gives you a link where you can book a direct call with her. So this is a way now you can use this also as a lead gen tool. So that's just showing you an example of 2 ways you can do it. So she would put this behind a sales funnel page, in which for this one, they would get direct access, but if she wanted to charge for it, then she would just put a checkout in front of it and then deliver it in the email.
Right. When you were creating the GPT, Julia asked, I think that you respond this, but just in case, do those uploads become public knowledge, include in
No.
broader AI? All right.
No, but there's also a quid pro quo with that. So if you're sharing these to the public, so for example, this GPT right here, you cannot jailbreak this one because I have instructions in the back end of hers that specifically instructed GPT never to export the data, never to tell how her instructions are built, none of that. So that you do need to put don't be overwhelmed. This is the beginning part. I'm just showing you what's possible because you can absolutely use ChatGPT to tell you step by step. So I want to make sure I address that real quick. As you see here, this is just from a novice. You just put in here, this is the goal I'm trying to do. Tell me what I need to do. So use especially ChatGPT as your guide in how to do it. You got to do it first. It's overwhelming because this is new. So I want to make sure to address that because even when I saw it for the first time, I'm like, oh my gosh. But you can use ChatGPT saying, listen, I am an absolute beginner. And I'm just going to show you an example of that real quick. I'm putting here, I'm an absolute beginner. You don't have to be a prompt engineer. I'm just giving you the prompts to save you the time and headaches of from there. But let me just show you as if you were just an absolute layman. I'm an absolute beginner. I want to create a custom GPT for my business that writes in my brand voice. Writes content, including emails, social posts, and more in my brand voice. I want to build this within ChatGPT. Tell me, what do you need to know about me first? And see, in ChatGPT, it's going to explain it to you. So don't feel intimidated because you absolutely can use ChatGPT. Tell it you're intimidated. Like I talk this like it's an actual person I know. She's my new friend. So don't feel overwhelmed because see, it's going to ask you all of these things. It's going to say what to avoid. It's giving you step by step. So you can use this technology to guide you through the overwhelm and what you need to do first. This is one of the first great steps you can absolutely use. And exactly, it does not judge you. So this is very and very great. If you're ever stuck with anything, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know everything. There's things I don't. I always go to ChatGPT and that tell me what is the first step, and more importantly, ask it what do you need to know from me, because it's only can do from what you give it. So ask it what do you need to know, and once you feed that information back, it's going to guide you to the next step, even to build something like this. So I just want to make sure to address that. Any other questions?
There are a couple of questions I would like to know about your experience. Something like if there's an AI for cold calling, or if you use Bolt AI for QA.
I'm sorry. Give me that question again.
Yes. So for leverage your experience, Crystal, at the very beginning of the session asked if there is an AI for cold calling.
Yes, so there are AI tools that do voice dialing you can use. It definitely depends on, some are good, some are not so great, some of them sound robotic. It's usually and you also would have to do is prompting in the background of how you want it to respond. But there's a lot of different platforms out there that will actually do cold calling. It's just you're going to want to make sure, since they are then going to be the platforms using it, your scripts are very tight on that, because then you're counting on the AI to answer for you and close your calls.
Beautiful. I think that Candace has run up.
Hi, yeah. So good evening. Hi everyone. Christina, one question. In the beginning you said you can connect AI to Instagram or Facebook and these social platforms. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how to do that?
Sure. So that one requires what's called an API, and it's just a piece of code that then links the two. That's more advanced, that's more programming. So not all websites have an API key. If they don't, you would need a specific developer to do that for you. Instagram is paused. They're a little bit tougher just because they guard their API a little bit more because they know AI is coming for it and they're trying to guard their intellectual property because they have AI in it now as well. But that's what you would need to do is you would need to get the API code from the platform you want to connect it to. And where you saw that button actions in the background here, when you're doing advanced GPTs for that, this is where you'd have to push the like API key and enter some of this other program. That's a definitely larger conversation, but it starts with getting an API code. And then you can actually use ChatGPT as well, saying this is what I want to do. This is the API code. Give me the OpenAI schema to paste here, and they'll tell you how to connect that as well if you want to do it on your own.
Okay, and what about videos? Because a lot of time for me it takes away from creating content, not just worded but as well video content. Do you have anything for that?
You talking about an AI that creates the videos for you?
Oh yeah, just probably put together a video like because you just provided with the like a video. Let's say you have the content already, you have the photos. It's just to just put the transition, put the words, just make it, a full 30 seconds
Right.
content viral. Let's say viral because we know we all want that viral, right?
Right.
Yeah, how you can do
So
that.
there's hundreds of tools. I can definitely tell you, you're going to want to just kind of search for your features just because since there are so many coming out, you're going to see this year a rise of AI tools come out and then you're going to see the bigger people like OpenAI start buying them. That's what happened with Adobe. They actually intentionally buy out their competitors. So like I know within CapCut, if you use something like that with mobile, they do have new AI features in there that would chop things up for you. It's really going to depend on where you're starting. If you wanted to use, there's Opus AI that usually creates videos from clips that you already have. So it's going to depend upon whether you're trying to create that content from already established things and it's going to chop it down for you, or if you want it to create it from scratch, then there's other AI tools that can then do that for you. It's just a matter of what content are you using, because then if you're wanting it to create from scratch, it needs to have something to be able to build on. So it might not use imagery that you're looking for. You would have to be able to prompt it on what you're looking for on brand, kind of like ideogram that creates graphics for people. You have to prompt it for what you want it to do or want it to look like because it's starting it from scratch.
This is fantastic. You are dropping, I mean, an insane amount of gems. My question is, there's two of us in our company, and I was wondering when we are creating the helpers, the assistants, do we need to do them separately within our individual voices, or do we do one as the company voice? Because we normally are like we're creating blog posts and social media posts and things like that for the business. So
Mhm.
I
You want it under
I
your
just wanted to be, go ahead.
company brand voice. So this person,
Okay.
she's a personal brand. So everything is in how she speaks. Like my business, it's an enterprise, but it's going to depend. Like I have two because I want it the company voice, which basically speaks the same as me, but still then, but there's two different ones. So your personal one would be great. Like if email interface. Like I'm sorry, one area, like if you get on my page, you're not going to see a chatbot. That's why I'm like, I want to interact with the people. I will never,
Mhm.
even as an AI technician, you're not getting a chatbot on my page. I want to interact with everybody. I still want human first for me. I'm not saying you all shouldn't, because with what you guys are doing in your business, you need to have a chatbot. That's a whole conversation. We'll get another training up for that.
Okay.
I would do, if you do your own personal brand voice, maybe for emails. So if you had want to give it to a VA and just so it still sounds like I'm talking to Naomi, that's when I would use a personal one. But I would program it on the company brand voice. This is
Got
how
it.
you interact with things. And then you can put a document in there for the knowledge file of these are the use cases of how we speak and when. If we're trying to de-escalate conflict, if we're trying to resolve things, all those different things, because I only had a little bit of window of time.
Mhm.
You can even ask ChatGPT to make this the best custom assistant ever, or to do these needs. What are other things I should probably put in there? Ask ChatGPT to tell you what other knowledge files. If you're stuck on, I don't know what to put in here, ask ChatGPT, give it the goal. This is what we're trying to do. What would be the best data to put in knowledge files to put into this and make sure you're not missing anything?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And I saw a question on the best platforms to use. It depends. It depends on what your specific goal is, what either your needs or the needs of your audience. So that's why you don't hear me recommend a ton of tools. I can tell you what's popular, but that doesn't mean it's what's going to be the best fit for your business. That's what I do differently is I do the research for you to see audit, like what are you trying to accomplish? And especially with budget as well, we factor all of those things in there because these tools, if you use them, add up quickly. They've all caught on to the token game or the subscriptions. So we make sure it's profitable for your business as well.
Right, we're almost on time. Just Christina, before we go on 1 minute session, can you share? Should we reach out to you for your services? Should we go to your website? If I'm a small business owner, what service can I have from you? Something like that.
Absolutely. Real quick, because I gave them a free tool. Sorry. Please scan. Let me make sure to go back here. Please scan this or take to make sure you guys, I have one that gives you ideas for custom GPTs for your business. So please scan that. That is free from me. And then make sure everyone's got that. And I'm also in
Thank-
Slack, so you can search me and just send me a message.